welcome back. My name is Jo, and on this video, I want to talk about guilt. That's right. As a child, I've always felt, and even as an adult, which is something that I'm still struggling with, feeling guilty for basically assisting, feeling guilty for overpassing my family and just doing things for the betterment of myself. As a child, I was made to feel guilty. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. When I say that I was meant to feel guilty, was that my parents' issues were seen as more important than my feelings and my emotions. They managed to really make me feel really guilty. Why? Because they were always the eternal victims. Everything was always about their issues and what they were going through. And when I would hear about it, keep in mind that I was 6 years old, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. And I would hear about it and I would feel like, oh my God, I feel so bad for my parents. Okay, so because I feel so bad for them, I do not want to be a burden. I do not want to cause them more pain or more problems. So let me shut down my emotions in order to not make them feel bad. That's right. I would feel guilty for wanting things that I needed as a child. And so therefore, I wouldn't ask for it. Because I'm like, okay, so I see that my dad is working so hard and he's barely home. He barely has a life of his own. I see that my mom is too busy supporting other family members that live abroad. So let me not even make any noise. Let me just be as quiet as possible so that I won't add to the stress that they already had. Instead of me worrying about my feelings and worrying about the fact that, hey, I needed somebody, I'm a child, I was always more worried about their feelings. And so that's how I kind of became a codependent, because it was always putting their needs first and putting their pain and their, their struggles above mine. So when I got older, and even as a child, as I interacted with other people, friends, classmates, and, as an adult in the workplace with other people and friends also, relationships, romantic relationships, you start to feel, or at least I did, I don't know if you guys will be able to relate to this, that I do not want to step over someone else's feelings, even to my own detriment. Even if it hurt me, I would just make sure to worry about not hurting that person's feelings, even though whatever they're doing is hurting my feelings. Basically, I'm just gonna neglect my own feelings and emotions, and that's what they do. If you grow up in households that have narcissistic people, or people that are just not well-adjusted adults, sometimes they're able to make you feel this way. And you grow up, and then you go out through life, and you just basically relive the same thing all over again. And it is so, so hurtful, because you end up feeling guilty, like, okay, let's say you want to have a better job. A part of you wants to go towards that better job, but then you feel guilty, like, oh, you don't deserve to have X, Y, and Z, because maybe your parents worked jobs that paid them, I don't know, $8 an hour. Maybe your parents were not able to expand themselves. They were not able to go to college, or they were not able to get a job that pays them well, or a job that they don't have to spend the whole day on it, slaving their lives away. And so you feel that guilt of like, okay, well, my parents were not able to have things easier. So then you feel guilty, and you feel like the only way to subsidize those feelings of guilt, the only way to make those feelings go away, is perhaps for you to get into a job that makes you go through the same things that your parents went through, as a part of you feeling guilty. It's something that I definitely went through. I will get into jobs that I will make myself like a slave. Why? Because that's what I saw my parents doing. Growing up, my dad is the type of person, he's a work alcoholic, okay? And he will be the type of person that if he was sick, he still would not call out from work. And so when I got into jobs, I would feel guilty for wanting to call out at work, even though I was really, really sick, because I would be so worried about my employer thinking that I'm being lazy, and then feeling guilty that I might have to inconvenience someone else. that I would still go to work. Like one time I had dental work. I removed two of my wisdom tooth, right? Two of my wisdom teeth. And my mouth, the side of my mouth was swollen, like my cheeks. You could see that it was swollen. I wasn't even able to speak properly. Guess what? I found nobody to work for me. And my boss told me, hey, if you need to take off, even if we didn't find a replacement for you, you could take off. And I was like, no. And I still showed up at work. I wasn't even able to properly speak. And so what I was doing was, in order for me to interact with the clients, I would just tell them to come in my office and I would type my answer to them. Now that I think about it, I'm like, why in the world that I feel like my job was so important that I sacrificed my well-being in order to go to this job when they could easily replace me with somebody else? When I left that job, they replaced me with someone else easily. So those are things that you do as a response of you feeling guilt and even possibly feeling shame. You see how detrimental this is. And if you don't realize these things, you will go out through life redoing things. My sister called me, so let me start all over again. So yeah, you will go out through life redoing things automatically on autopilot because you don't know that you're operating from the sense of feeling guilt. Feeling guilt, like you do not deserve this because your family went through X, Y, and Z. So therefore, you don't have the right to be happy. You don't have the right to have a good paying job. You don't have the right to have a good loving partner. And so this is why it's so important for you to do this healing work. Again, like I told you guys in previous videos, I'm not 100%. I don't have my life together. I'm still healing. Okay, so do not take my word as if I'm some kind of expert because I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm basically speaking from the standpoint of somebody that's healing, a human being. And so that as I continue to heal, I want to be able to be a living testament to people that, hey, I went through X, Y, and Z, and I'm here, and I made it, and I got better, and I got out all of that dysfunction. And I'm happy because my goal is to be 100% happy. Of course, there's going to be things in life that do happen that can throw you off track, but that is okay. There have been times where this past couple of days, it took me 4 days to do this hair. I did my own hair and I kind of got off track. Like I typically have a routine now that I wake up, I fix my bed, I make something to eat, and I make sure to go take a shower, put on my clothes, put on makeup, and then I start to work, do my job. And I cook and do things like that. And then eventually throughout the day, I'll do yoga and exercise and meditate, journal, trying to read, a self-help book and things like that. And there was a couple of days that I wasn't able to do that because I was just so tired. And then I felt like, oh my God, like I was mad at myself because feeling guilty of like, oh no, you always need to be doing something. And if you're not doing something for the healing work, then I end up feeling bad about myself. And so it's that guilt of feeling like you can't take a day off to rest. It's the guilt of like feeling like you always have to be perfect. And I'm here to tell you, you don't always have to be perfect. And I'm here to tell you also, I have days sometimes where I feel like SHIT. I have days when I don't do anything. I have days when I can spend the whole day and I don't shower till like later on. I have days where I have really negative thoughts. I have days where I'm just, honestly, it's the truth. And then what happens is I end up feeling guilty for having those negative feelings. I end up feeling guilty for not, again, like I said, for not being perfect. And it's okay to be, perfectly imperfect. Like I'm here to tell you guys, even though I speak about on these videos, I'm not always positive. It's the truth. I have days where I'm like, oh God, like I said, I feel like SHIT. I have days where I just want to stab somebody. I have days where I just really want to curse somebody out. And so that's just the reality of life. And it's something that I'm slowly learning to accept. Okay? Because it's not easy to accept. At the end of the day, I'm human, and I don't want to feel like, okay, I feel like I'm spiritual. I don't want to feel like being spiritual means that I have to be 100% perfect, like I have to be an angel of God. No, because I am human. I do have human emotions. I am not perfect. So here where the guilt comes from. You feel like you have to be perfect and you always have to be love and light. No, I'm not always going to be love and light. No, that's just, it's fake to me to expect myself or to expect someone else to always be perfect. Again, I'm still struggling with this, but I feel like it must be said. Because oftentimes I feel like, oh, well, expectation. And it's like, no, that's just me speaking from guilt and shame. Thinking that I always have to be 110%. And it doesn't have to always be like that. You can have days where you're just going to be straight up off. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that, oh my God, like, no. Because the healing journey is a crazy ride. So you're in the roller coaster, you go up and down. And on the way, you might have people throwing rocks at you. And even your own mind can throw rocks at you. Even your subconscious mind can fool you and deceive you. And there are times where I feel like, oh, I'm not making progress. But then I'm like, no, I have made progress. Because compared to a few years ago, I was a complete mess. Okay? When I say I was a complete mess, I was the type of person, I would wake up and I would not fix my bed. I would just be like, whatever. I would wake up really late. I would not do self-care. I wouldn't brush my teeth twice a day. I wouldn't even put on lotion. I would walk around, because of guilt also, I would walk around sometimes with like bras that didn't even fit me properly. With like underwears that were ripped. With shoes that had holes in it. I'm being 100% serious. Even though I had a job and I could buy myself new shoes, because of the guilt of feeling like I don't deserve to have nice things. And also, I remember, like, when it comes to money, I have issues with sometimes overspending, right? Like emotionally spending to make myself feel good. And I remember, like, I would buy, when I would go on vacation, I would make sure that every day I had a new pair of shoes to wear, which is ridiculous. Now I'm like, whatever. I'm over that. And my mother would be like, oh my God, you guys buy, my sister and I, we buy so much shoes. And when she was a child, she only had one pair of shoes or something like that. Or they would have to share the shoes with her siblings. And I'm like, what do I have to do with that? Like, I'm sorry you went through that, but what does it have to do with me now? It's like making me feel guilty for having the ability not to buy myself stuff, even though she also had the ability now to buy herself nice things. Like, no one is stopping you. Now you have the money, you have the resources to do so. Why are you trying to make me feel guilty for wanting to have shoes? Even though I understand, like, from my standpoint, my overspending. But she wasn't speaking about my overspending. She was basically speaking of the fact that she feels like I have too much stuff. Like, like making me feel like, how can I explain it? Making me feel like I should feel guilty because when she was a child, she didn't have anything. And now I have too much. Like, I'm not good enough to have those things. Like, if she was speaking to me from the point of like, okay, you are emotionally spending, yada, 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 just to give me advice on financial management, which, again, my parents have never taught me any life skills whatsoever, okay? Not even about hygiene or anything like that. Let's make that clear, the distinction. And it's like, again, making me feel guilty, making me just feel guilty, like I'm not good enough to have anything. That's just what it is. So you need to, I suggest, you don't have to, I suggest that you go back through your life and see whenever your caretaker or your parents or anybody made you feel some type of way about having things. Because I'm telling you, there was like years ago, I was walking around the wintertime with boots that had hole in it, and the water from like the snow would get inside my boots, and I still would not throw them away. With sneakers that had holes in it, and I still would not throw them away. Underwear, bras that were ill fitting, and things like that, and I just would not throw them away. I just wouldn't, because I feel like, then I will have to buy a new one, and then I would feel like, whatever, like, this is what I deserve, so I'm just gonna wear this. I know it's embarrassing, but I'm being honest because I have to be honest about it. Like, I don't care if anyone's judging me for that. I'm being straight up honest about it. I also will feel like guilty if I want to like get a massage, because again, when it comes to self-care and hygiene and maintaining myself and my spirit and things like that, I was never encouraged to do these things. And whenever I did try to do these things, my mom would say things like, oh, I think I'm rich. And who do I think I am and stuff like that. Just, again, to put me back in my place of like, you don't deserve to do things for yourself. You don't deserve to pamper yourself. You don't deserve to have good quality things and stuff of that nature. So I hope this video helped you guys understand certain things or whatever. And you can possibly now start to find ways in which you can change that guilt complex. Feeling like, guilty if you start making $1 million because your parents and your ancestors were making pennies. I understand feeling empathy towards them, but it wasn't your fault. It's not our fault. So I do want to change that mentality, because that mentality will keep you stuck in jobs that you don't deserve to be in relationships that you need to be out of them, and in friendships, etc., that you need to get out. So working that guilt complex and not feeling guilty to be you, not feeling guilty to be beautiful, not feeling guilty to be smart and things like that. And to just basically accept your light and just make that shine all over the world. If you're good at something, you're good at something. If you're beautiful, etc. And not feeling guilty because someone else feels some type of way about it. Thank you so much for watching. And I do also want to thank all my subscribers. I'm just so shocked. And I'm really I'm super excited about it. And I'm working on obtaining things to just provide you guys with better quality videos. I do want to learn how to edit and stuff like that. But I'm very grateful for the 118 subscribers that I have. And I hope my videos can help you guys and inspire some of you. And if it doesn't inspire you, at least you can feel okay knowing that, hey, you're not alone, and there's other people that have been through the same thing as you, and that it's very possible to change your life. It's not easy, and sometimes you will have bad days, and that is okay. It's okay to have bad days. Like I tell you guys, I'm not always positive, I'm not always happy, I'm not always if I tell you guys that, I'll be lying and being fake, and which is something that I don't want to do. So thank you so much for subscribing. If you guys want to share these videos, please do so. But bye bye now, take care.